What's up and welcome back to another episode of Next Door Conversations with me, Amara. Guys, on this podcast, I tend to bitch about a lot of problems that we have in our society and in our culture. I'm always bitching about something, and I have noticed that I do not, give as much practical advice on how we can solve certain issues. And so I just decided that on this episode, I'm going to pick this particular issue that I feel is very rampant, it's very common. I've actually talked about this issue many times on this podcast before, and that is hyper-individualism. And we're going to go into practical steps that we all can take as Gen Z youth to shed ourselves of this mentality of it will favor me and I do not give a crap about you. Yes, we are going to be talking about that on today's episode. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Amara and this is Next Door Conversations, my podcast where I talk about trending news, viral content, what's happening on social media and in the world at large. If you like what you're listening to, make sure you're following the podcast, ring the notification bell so every time I drop an episode you get a notification. And also don't forget to share this episode with a friend, because I'm sure there's someone in your circle of friends that's interested in topics as these. And without so much yapping, let's get straight into the episode. So guys, hyper-individualism, I have spoken about this before on this podcast, but I'm just going to do a refresher in case you do not know. Hyper-individualism is this idea or way of thinking that is, very self-absorbed, very concerned with the self, concerned with self-preservation. Not that self-preservation is a bad thing, not that self-expression or a little bit of selfishness is a bad thing. We all have the right to feel and be selfish sometimes and care about ourselves more than we care about the external. But then it can get to a point where we start to forsake the community, forsake, collective responsibility, what we owe to each other, because we are so concerned about how we can preserve ourselves and not the damage that can come from that type of thinking. And so it's this idea that the grass is green on my lawn and I do not care if the United States of America is throwing bombs on yours. And it is very damaging. It is a very horrible way of thinking. It's a very horrible way of existing. There are a lot of Western societies that have embraced hyper-individualism, and that's why some of those societies are crumbling. It's this very damaging thing that people think. And I'm more of an Ubuntu girl, the Ubuntu philosophy that comes from South Africa, which ironically is the very same set of people that are attacking fellow Africans in the name of xenophobia and protecting what is theirs, even though what they're protecting is just like scraps in comparison to what the white man has stolen from them. And I am veering off again. Amara, stay on course. Yes, hyper-individualism. So yes, it's the forsaking the many for yourself. It's about me, I don't care about me. And this has never been how our society has, existed. I can remember a time previously, a couple decades ago, maybe not a couple decades, maybe a decade ago, because I'm really not that old actually to remember. But yeah, I remember there was a time where Nigerian society, we were very communal. We were very like, it takes a village. And so every older woman out there is your auntie. Every older man out there is your uncle. There's this sort of like oneness. We existed as one single organism. Or maybe I'm just looking at it through rose-colored glasses. After all, I was a child back then. But I remember it feeling that way. And now it's just sad to see that so many of us, we don't even know who our neighbors are. Like, we don't even know what is happening and how the policies and the way we vote and the people that are representing us are affecting so many other people across the country. And so I know these are big, lofty ideas, and it may feel like we can only discuss or tackle these issues in abstract. I feel like there are practical ways where we as individuals can combat this hyper-individualistic type of thinking and actually go back to being a part of the community, being that single organism once again. These are my practical steps. The first step is getting to know your neighbors. Yes, if you're listening to this at the sound of my voice, I challenge you, maybe in a week's time, because I know people are busy, but at least get to know who lives beside you. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors' names. Get to know things about them beyond just their names. Get to know what they studied. Get to know them, because before we can get to knowing our neighbors across state borders, across the country, across different regions of the country, I feel it's actually important that we get to know those around us and take those, simple, small steps to get better. And so I really do challenge everybody, including myself, because I'm not perfect. Even me, I have that hyper-individualism problem of me, I don't care about anybody else sometimes. Anyway, so please, I would challenge you to get to know your neighbors. It doesn't have to be anything more than a simple, small chit-chat about who they are, what they studied, where they're coming from, different things like that. Just a little bit more information about them. I feel like that would be very great. And this doesn't even have to be neighbors in your particular community. If you're a churchgoer, if you're someone affiliated with a religious institution, please get to know who is sitting beside you at church. Literally after church, everybody just stands up and they walk away. And it's the mothers that literally go the extra step to be like, sister kini, sister kini. And we all grew up watching that, but we didn't realize the value in that, the value in actually knowing the different people and, knowing their names and building that kind of community and being a part of it. So please, I challenge whoever who is listening to this, try as much as possible to get to know your neighbors, get to know the people that are living around you. Individual life is not supposed to be lived in isolation. The next practical step, my Igbo is coming out. The next practical step to ask about other people's welfare. Now, this doesn't have to be some stranger on the streets. It could be someone who is close to you, maybe an acquaintance or a friend, but try as much as possible this week to ask about someone else's welfare. Ask, if there's any way you can be of service to that person. And I say this because this is how community is actually built. By the time you have been of service to someone, it's more than likely that person is willing to say yes to you when you are in need of service of them. I'm not saying you should exist with this type of if I do for you, you do for me kind of mindset, which is a problem on its own, but try as much as possible to be of service. It's always good, you gain a good reputation. It turns out being a net positive. So far as you don't turn yourself into a doormat, I'm not saying don't turn yourself into a doormat, but I'm saying just ask how you can be of service. And if you can be of service to that person, do that. Like I said, do not be a doormat. Do not go and borrow somebody a huge lump sum of money that you know that it's unlikely that you'll get it back. Yeah, if there's any way in particular that you can be of help to someone else, please try as much as possible to do that. The next practical step, and also in terms of that welfare, I know it may sound strange, that also includes like helping those who are sick. There are a lot of people that are sick in the hospital and they can't pay their hospital bills. Trust me, I have worked in the hospital and I know what I'm talking about. So please, if you can, just go to your nearest hospital or your nearest clinic. Ask the nurses in the ward, is there any particular patient that is struggling with so and so? People do it. You'll be surprised that a lot of Nigerians actually do this, where they go into wards and they're like, is there anyone that is struggling with a particular hospital fee that is in need of help? You don't have to cover the entire fee. You don't even have to cover the fee itself. But whatever small money you have that you can give, you can just donate that to that person and give it to that person and be like, even if this will cover your meal for today so that you can be able to take your drugs, at least, having that kind of heart, it just helps. It helps heal community. It helps restore our faith in people. The next practical step, please, I've said this one many times on this podcast, involve yourself in local politics and community efforts. It's not always the presidential election. The presidential election is important too. Presidential election is important, but also those small elections, those little people in high places that are making decisions that are affecting so much of what is happening in the present day. Also involve yourself in those elections. Involve yourself in, like I mentioned about Amara that happened a couple months ago. That one was there. So many other elections that are happening. Please involve yourself. And it doesn't even have to be something that is particularly governmental. We have homeowners meetings. If you're someone that is a homeowner and you probably stay in an estate, the meetings I'm talking about that people used to have at the end of the month. Go and attend, meet people, ask them their names, ask them, how things are going, if there are any problems. If there's any issue, just try and make a little bit of small talk so they know you. Try and get to know the people there. There are also other volunteering opportunities. Me, I'm a serial volunteer. I have, since I was in university, I have been a serial volunteer, whether it's, blood drive, hepatitis awareness, HIV awareness, outreaches where we're checking people's blood pressure, different things, even environmental climate cleanup initiatives. I am very pro volunteer. I'm very pro give yourself to community, give yourself to these organizations that are helping take care of the little problems that are existing in our community. Volunteer, be a serial volunteer. Be like me. I sound so self-absorbed, but really try and do that. And that's something that I want to bring onto this podcast as well. I'm hoping to do something called the Good Neighbors Initiative, which will just start off as posts. I'm going to try as much as possible to get as many volunteering opportunities as I can and post them onto the X page. So if you're interested, you can go and attend. You can go and be of service to your community, because it's important. Because this hyper-individualism problem, we need to knock it down one person at a time. And lastly, the last practical step I will give is to care about your environment. Your environment is very important. Pollution is an issue. Stop with the plastic waste. Stop with the discarding, littering things. Just because there's one elderly cleaner that comes and sweeps the side of your streets every single day doesn't mean you can't have the sense to put your trash in the trash can. Okay, those people are human beings. Okay, because it's their job to do that, it doesn't mean that you can just make it harder on them. Do you know how hard it is to, like, in big 2026, those ladies are still using that broom, that brown broom that they have to bend their waists. Even me, as young as I am, it is a problem for me to have to bend my waist and bend down and be sweeping. Not to talk of someone who is 40 or 50s, because how much is she even making? Do you get? So we can't be demons. Let's stop being demons. We can't be demons. Let's stop being demons. Take care of your environment. Clean your environment. Clean your house. Get your waste. Clear your waste. Do not litter. If you can plant trees, plant trees. Buy how much is a sapling or a seedling? Like how much? Like 5k, 3k, or whatever. Get it. It's rainy season. You won't even have to water it. Find a patch of land in your house or somewhere in front of your house and plant that tree. Plant that tree. It's going to have long-term benefits. Please, let us think in communities. Volunteer yourself to your local school. There's so many children that cannot afford to have lesson teachers. Offer to sponsor a few children. Ask the teacher those children that are lagging behind in class and offer to pay for lesson teacher for them. Do you get? Offer to pay for whichever lesson teacher that comes to. Why am I saying lesson teacher? Oh God, I'm so Igbo. Anyway, yes, there are many ways. There are many ways that you can give yourself to community, and these are things that I am working towards doing myself. I want to just be someone that is so involved, like so rooted, to the point where if I want to take a trip to somewhere, I have to think about but these people, I have to think about these things, because then I'll know that I'm at home. I will know that I'm a part of something, and I feel like that's a beautiful feeling that every individual should feel. You shouldn't feel comfortable with uprooting yourself and throwing yourself to another place. Like, that's not normal. It's not a normal feeling. You should be able to experience the feeling of being at home. And yeah, so that is honestly how I feel about this thing called hyper-individualism and how we can dismantle it in our generation. You let me know your thoughts on social media, as always, at Amara Next Door, #NextDoorPod, at @NextDoorPod_ on X. You can also join our WhatsApp channel. Let me know your thoughts on some of my practical steps. And if you are engaging in any practical steps, if you have a non-profit that needs help, if you have a non-governmental organization and you are in need of volunteers, send me your flyer so I can post it on my X page and on the WhatsApp channel so people can see. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.